And that's how I started making videos. Um, was I would go through and just start creating a list of all these different topics: FHA, VA, USDA, conventional. Like already from those, you're going to branch out and probably have 50 different video ideas just from those, the four loan types.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Influencers, where we bring you professionals who share insight into the latest trends, tips, industry technology, and services to help you be a mortgage influencer in your mortgage business. Okay, guys, so we want to welcome you to another episode of our Mortgage Influencers. My name is Ginger Bell. I have our usual guest host today, Scott Schang, calling in from Denver, and Frank Garay from California. And Carl might hop on, so I know he's been busy, but I'm so excited to be able to introduce to you our guest today, and that is the one and only, the legend, young legend, Mr. Kyle Seagraves. So this is your second time back to the show, Kyle. You're a repeat.
Yes.
We're going to have to do like the Saturday Night Live. We'll do the Saturday Night Live like jacket at some point when you get to 5. I think we'll have to do it. Like...
Ooh, sweet.
And I think it's okay if we call him a kid, right? Because that's just a baby goat, because he's pretty much the goat already. So, I mean, I think there's something there we can play with.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so listen, we're going to hop into talking about things. For those of you who don't know Kyle, is a loan originator from Ohio. And Kyle and I had an opportunity to meet, was it 3 years ago, Kyle? 4 years ago?
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 years ago. It seems like that stretch of COVID has made time like shrink.
I know. It's
in
like
weird
whatever
ways.
it is. Yeah. Yeah. But Kyle was introduced to the mortgage industry by his father, who bought a mortgage franchise. And like any good father, brought his son along and said, hey, you're going to learn the mortgage business. And so Kyle started a YouTube channel, and thought it was a good way not only to get information out there, but kind of learn, because you started just really reading the guides and getting started. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to kind of lay the where you're at right now today. So I just looked on your YouTube channel. For those of you who want to follow him, his channel is called Win the House You Love. And so you can go onto YouTube, and 147,000 subscribers. Your top video, which is interesting it's the 2021 FHA loan guides from 2 years ago, over 1 million views. And that's a lot on YouTube. So if you're, on TikTok and you get 2 million views, that's like, okay, you got into a trend. But guys, to get 1 million views on a YouTube video is a really big thing.
Well, and another piece of that, Ginger, and I mean, we'll probably get to this, is Kyle is the definition of long form video. That video is an hour long.
Yeah.
It's not it's like those views aren't the algorithm picking it up because it auto-played in somebody's stream. Like Kyle is breaking down underwriting guidelines on YouTube.
It's in a lot of people's sleep playlists.
Exactly. I usually fall asleep right around chapter 4 of the underwriting guidelines.
Yeah. So anyway, so for those of you who have not had the opportunity to meet Kyle, that's Kyle. And I know we have a lot of questions, but I think that the first thing is, and Scott alluded to this, is long form content. And so what have you seen? And because I know you do some videos that are shorter than, I know you stream live sometimes. You'll bring in a couple of real estate agents and you'll stream live. So what do you find the most successful for you, that works for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird just being on any social platform because things are constantly evolving. I feel like what used to work really well would be like the 8 to 15-minute video that was just about education, seemed to work pretty well in the real estate world. And I've been noticing things have been changing quite a bit. And surprisingly, what works the best thing for me is super long form content, like 30 minutes to an hour. I even tested a recent video doing an hour and a half. and surprisingly didn't like see a decline in results from it. And so I work with a YouTube partner. So it's an employee from YouTube who they'll sign. If you have like around over 100,000 subscribers, they'll give you almost like a coach from YouTube. And one of the things that was interesting in talking with him is he was saying, just across YouTube in general, there's this kind of big divide between long form content and short form content, where the 8 to 15-minute videos are kind of getting phased out a little bit. They're kind of this weird mix where people, they had to commit to watch the full 8 minutes or whatever, but they didn't get as much as they wanted to. So they're kind of having to piece together almost like little building blocks. Like if I want to learn about an FHA loan based on 10-minute videos, I'm going to have to like watch it, piece it together, and make sure I did the thing right. Versus a short form video almost gives me less. I feel like a short form video, like when we're talking about a minute to 3 minutes, gives you more of like a jumping platform rather than a guide. And so people get more, I think, energy from like short form videos to go take an action and learn things more for themselves, to dig a little bit deeper. And then those longer videos, what I found works really well for me and from my presentation style is, maybe it's just because I'm really long-winded and need to work on being concise, is those like hour-long videos. I think people really like coming into a video and saying, I know nothing about this. Tell me every single thing I need to know. And a thing that I mentioned on a lot of my loan requirements videos is like, hey, you're going to know more about this loan than not only most home buyers, but probably more than most loan officers. And I can guarantee you more than most realtors. So I think people like being able to know that, okay, at the end of this, I'm going to be so well equipped to make the absolute right decision by the end of it. So that's why I've pushed into long form a lot. And also, like, frankly, if you're looking at like YouTube ad revenue, I make more money on ad revenue from longer videos. And also conversion rates are a lot higher. If somebody has listened to me talk for 30 minutes, well, if they didn't click off after like a minute, after like 1 minute, there's a good chance that they're going to want to work with me and my team. And so it's just the people who are going to sit and watch those videos are more invested in the process and more interested in what we have to offer than us just coming in with a short, flashy video.
My observation of Kyle's journey is it's I'm really fascinated by it, but I think it really just shows he's just being his authentic self. That's how he learns. It's how he likes to talk. It's how he likes to teach. He's just being his genuine, authentic self. He's, in retrospect, he's able to go back and get these guidelines and the algorithms and learn why things are what they are. But at the end of the day, he's not trying to be anybody that he isn't. He's just himself. And so he's attracting people that are attracted to his authentic way of communication. And I mean, you think about that, but that's really interesting. That's really interesting that you say that, because you're right. Anything less than that, I mean, anything with loans is you have to piece together, because everybody's situation is kind of unique. So yeah, that's one of the things that I like about you is you didn't take a course and try to follow the course and necessarily try to mimic anybody else. You kind of blazed your own trail. And I kind of wish all content creators had the courage to just blaze their own trail and be their authentic self on whatever platform they can.
And
I appreciate the comments, Scott. Keep them coming.
Well, you also said something, you and I talked a while ago when we were talking about how many videos you have to create until you start to find your groove. And that was a really interesting discussion. You want to kind of talk about that? Because there's a lot of people want to get started on YouTube and they're like, they publish their first shitty video and they're like, nobody watched it.
And I learned this from a guy who did YouTube. His name is Miles Beckler, and not in the real estate world, but he's the one who kind of like encouraged me. I watched all of his videos and he encouraged me to make videos. And one of his biggest things was like, don't make videos with the goal that they're going to do something, especially in the beginning. Like, all you're trying to do is prove that you are somebody who can make content, or you're somebody who can make videos. like that's all you're trying to prove to yourself in the very beginning. So like
Mm.
video 0 through 20 is just you proving to yourself that you can show up and actually do the work, irrespective of like what happens. That was the same thing for me. Is like I feel like I stumbled into YouTube. I was just making a bunch of videos for my clients because I frankly got tired of answering the same questions over and over again. And it was probably within maybe doing 50-ish videos that all of a sudden there was some traction that started to build up on YouTube. But my video, my first video versus the 50th was completely different, because I was able to like practice that skill. And I think people forget like video is a skill that you learn and you develop and you practice just like anything else. Like the first loan that you do or the first real estate transaction you do was probably hot garbage because I know mine was, and no one should have ever worked with me in the beginning. But you do your 20th loan, you're like, okay, I'm getting a feel for this. You do your 50th loan, you're like, okay. You do your 100th, you're like, okay, I got this. And it's the same thing with video. It's the same thing with every single thing you're going to do in your life. The first time you do, it's going to suck. And I think Scott, you have a phrase for this. It's like the pushing through the suck kind
Pushing
of.
through the suck. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You have like, don't expect the results. Just prove to yourself that you're somebody who makes content is what you're looking for in the very beginning.
It's like being an artist, and Frank, you can relate to this as a singer. It's like the more you create and the more you sing and the more you do it and the more you practice, then two things are going to happen. First of all, you're going to work through the suck, and you're going to find your voice, and that's really what you found was your voice. And I think that's important. I remember you sharing with me that you're not for everyone. And you used to have a tagline, the calm voice, I think is what you said, as far as in the mortgage. And so being authentic to yourself and who you are is important. And for those of you who are going, okay, how am I going to do a 1-hour video? This is like back in the day when we used to do webinars. So, a webinar, and I've done thousands of webinars in my career, and that's what I see it as. Webinars are more information. And we have gotten through social media to the point where it's like all you're doing is the 30, 60-second sound bites, and it's nothing more than a sound bite. People do want that information. So I love the fact of being that educator, and doing that. In a way, video is a way of blogging. It's the same thing as far as podcasting is becoming the new form of blogging. And so you have to find what works for you. So I want to ask, how do you come up with the topic? Because there's a ton of different things we can talk about in the mortgage industry. And I remember one time, it was during COVID, there was something that was coming out. And I remember you saying you honestly stayed up until midnight to make sure you were the very first person that put a video out on this. There was some legislation or something. Do you remember?
Yeah,
that?
I have a problem.
I don't know if it was the CARES Act or something like that, but you're like, I'm going to be the first one. I'm going to get this done.
Which I can't remember exactly
It was
what
an
that was.
It was something with that. No, it wasn't the CARES Act. It was something with FHA. So it was a change that happened with FHA.
It may have been the student loan change.
It may have been
FHA
the student loan change. It might have been before that, and it was talking about, I don't know, minorities or something. But anyway, I mean, that's to the point that Kyle is to his craft, that he looks for those. So how do you come up with that? How do you say, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about this week?
To be fair, that's also why I'm in therapy. But it's really hard to come up with topics, to be honest. And I'll like, that's with an asterisk. It's really easy to come up with topics, but it's hard to come up with topics that you feel like are going to work and you're energized by them. Because like I have a backlog list of probably around 400 video ideas, but do I think that they're all something that I want to work on right now? Yeah, probably not. So if there was a good answer for like what topics should I cover that work, then I think like if someone can figure that out, they would be the best YouTuber in the world because like things are constantly changing.
Right.
So I think the more that you make content, the more that you're going to figure out what works and what doesn't. So for instance, like I don't think I made that loan requirements type video until maybe video 70 or something. And then I saw, oh, that works really well. So now I'm going to turn that into kind of like a series of sorts. And then as I started making more and more videos, I started realizing like, oh, what works really well for me is to cover mortgage guidelines, surprisingly. Because I used to cover like credit, budgeting, how to sell a house, how to buy a house, how to refinance. And these are all different like buyers, all different or all different like journeys people are going through real estate. And over time, I started figuring out what resonates for me. Now to begin figuring out, like if you're at ground zero and you're like, I have no video topic whatsoever, I do have a strategy that is going to work really well. One little word of caution I would say in the beginning is right now what's happening a lot on YouTube is a lot of like people are coming in with their housing market commentary. My caution here is that like, I know you may be a great realtor or great loan officer. I'm sorry, but you're not a great economist. So please don't feel like you have to have a hot take just because everyone else has a hot take. I've purposefully stayed outside of the housing market thing because frankly, I don't think my buyers care. Ultimately, what I know that I provide as a product is I help people who are looking to get a mortgage secure a mortgage. I'm not trying to convince them to buy or not to buy. And also, I'm not an economist. I don't, in fine detail, understand and can articulate what's happening in the real estate market. And there's been this kind of issue, this like curse of the influencer on YouTube, where people feel like they have to have this hot take on what's happening in their market, like they're going to forecast what's happening. And I just don't think it's doing any service to people. I think it's clouding people's ability to make effective decisions about if they want to buy a house or not. Because most people buy a house because they're expecting a child, they maybe had a divorce, they want to move closer to an aging parent. There's all these reasons why people buy a house, irrespective of what the market is doing.
Yeah.
So now that I'm off my soapbox with that, when it comes to like video topics from ground zero, YouTube has a built-in tool for you to be able to find topics that people are already searching for. So what you can do, just right at the top of your YouTube page, there's that little search bar. Everyone's used to, and maybe you go and you type in like cat videos or whatever else you put in there. Or for Scott, always Chat GPT, I'm sure, is right at the top of his list. Driving all the traffic to Chat GPT's videos. So what I would do is begin just typing in, you could just type in mortgage, put a space, and then type the letter A. And you'll notice there's all these autocomplete suggestions that come up beneath it. So it might say like mortgage assumption, mortgage amortization. Then you type B, right? Mortgage, and then it's going to list all of the B words. So you can do that at the beginning of the word, after the word, and play around with all different types of words. I can do how to buy a house, just see all the search suggestions. How to buy a house, A. So what YouTube is telling you is that the only reason they're putting those search suggestions there is because they're saying, whenever someone typed in home loans, here's the next thing that they searched for right after it. So YouTube's already telling me there are people looking for videos with that search topic. They're searching for those things. And that's how I started making videos, was I would go through and just start creating a list of all these different topics, FHA, VA, USDA, conventional, like already from those, you're going to branch out and probably have 50 different video ideas just from those, the 4 loan types. So then what you're wanting to do is look at the search results page. So maybe we're looking at, let me think of a good example. Let's say like we want to talk about like mortgage assumption. I know has been like a common question a lot of people have had recently. So I'm going to search mortgage assumption on YouTube. Now what I want to do is I want to look at the top 3 videos, start to look at what is their thumbnail, what is their title, and start to get a feel of like what was working. Because YouTube is saying basically these are good videos for mortgage assumption. So now I'm going to open each one of those videos in a new tab, and I'm going to watch through the video. I'm going to start to take notes, right? What did they cover? What didn't they cover? Is the video just talking head? Do they have graphics? Did they put numbers on the screen? Are there like chapter markers? Why is YouTube saying this is a good video? Then I'm going to also crowdsource my video by looking through all their comments, right? So each of those videos has comments where people say like, hey, this video was great because you included X. Hey, I wish you would have talked about this thing. Well, I'm going to take notes and include it in my video. So the theory here is we get topics that people are already searching for. YouTube told us people were searching for these topics. And then if we can make our video better, more inclusive, more detailed, more specific than the top 3 videos already on YouTube for that search term, odds are my video is going to be able to land either at the top or in those top 3 as well. And I know that's true because I've done this on several calls where like I'll screen share and run through examples and like, oh yeah, there's a video I made 3 years ago that's still at the top of this ranking for a keyword, just because that's exactly what I did. And nobody has done the same thing to my videos to be able to outrank those. So that's exactly where I would start. And it helps you be able to craft a video that is going to work and rank at the top of those search results.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Cal, do you
I gotta-
suggest that people go from 0 to that, or is this after they get to their 20th video?
That's a really good question. I feel like it maybe depends on like your tendency to do some of the work. If you're somebody who's like,
I don't want to get stuck preparing to prepare.
Mhm.
correct. Yeah. And so maybe it is worth just like proving to yourself that you can get on video. I know I've talked before, I think Scott, you and I talked about this on a call recently where before I started YouTube, I did a lot of like bomb personal videos. So I did around 1,000 before I started on YouTube. So I was already pretty comfortable, like knowing I can press record and I'm pretty comfortable. But if you're not at that spot, then yeah, maybe it's worth just like, maybe you had a call with a client and they asked a specific question. Great, like cover that on a video. Hey, I had a call with a client. You might have the same question. Just reiterate what you did on your call. Maybe do a couple of those and then start getting into your research phase if you're running out of some topics. And I think, Frank, you also had a question.
Well, I was just, first of all, I just got to point out I'm not a singer. I'm a guitar player. So Ginger had that wrong. And there is no amount of suck that I could get through to get to the end of that journey. That just is never going to happen. But I appreciate the analogy you had
I
going
stand
there.
corrected.
Yeah.
We
We will not hear Frank sing.
You do not want to hear Frank sing. But I think the thing that I wanted to ask is wow, man, you've been doing this for about 3 or 4 years. How many years? YouTube specifically?
3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. So in 3 or 4 years, you managed to get nearly 150,000 subscribers. Just amazing for mortgage stuff, which is like insanely boring and no fun. Right. So that is really, really cool to be able to do that. And I love the thought on just typing mortgage and then the space and the letter A and what's showing up and letter B, what's brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant.
Say people, that's something I learned. I didn't take this course, but that's from like a $5,000 per month course.
And so thank you for that, ka-ching.
Send a check to Kyle Seagraves.
Yeah, but here's what my question is like, if people want to start, and we've been through this before a million times on this show, it's, hey man, if you're going to do this, get ready to, kind of strap in and understand you gotta do it. Like you can't just do one video a year and go, YouTube sucks. You gotta like do a lot of video. And so get ready to just do it. But if you do it, there's there's great reward to it, obviously. But what I was going to ask is when you were first getting started on YouTube specifically, did you take advantage of any other any help, like people helping you optimize it, or did you did you do any paid boosting or anything like that? Or is it purely, I just started making videos, putting them in playlists or whatever I did there and just let YouTube do its thing? How did it happen?
Yeah, as far as the optimizing stuff is garbage. That doesn't really work. That worked in like early 2000s YouTube and Google. You had keyword stuffing and SEO and all the optimization. And like I won't go super deep into like the algorithm stuff, but like all social platforms have switched years ago from very simple understandings of how to like look at a video and a title. Used to just be able to like stuff keywords in FHA, and it's like, oh, that must be really a good FHA video. Yeah. Now there's so many like complex like AI algorithms that actually honestly view your video almost like a person. It's kind of the best way to think about it, because they actually don't care about your video. They care about the people watching your video. So they'll like watch your users watching the video as opposed to looking at your video. If that makes sense. It's kind of a little weird. So the optimization stuff doesn't work. And I didn't do any paid like advertising or boosting or anything like that. And the main reason why, like this is what I learned from Miles Beckler too, is like he's very pro organic traffic just because it's the most powerful. Paid traffic, you just frankly don't get super high quality people from it. And like, I know there are a lot of people who are, there's a streaming on Facebook right now. There's a lot of people who do really great with Facebook advertising and getting through Facebook. But like statistically, those are lower quality leads than an organic traffic lead, just by the nature of the intent that the person has on the platform. And that's what I wanted to stay away from was I really wanted to make sure that if I was going to make this channel work, that it was only going to work because it inherently was really great for the platform and YouTube recognized that and could push it. Because I kind of lost my train of thought with
Well, and where you're going, so I'll let you
Yeah.
get that back, but I'm going to fill in a couple of things. So just so you all know, it took Kyle over a year to get 100 subscribers. So what really, it's that consistency.
It really
So
is.
the
You just got to do it.
It's
a
showing
lot.
up, it's learning, it's growing, it's figuring out, what to do. I do have a couple of questions that I want to hop to. First of all, and Timothy Bullock is saying that he literally just left a meeting with a realtor and he recommended for him to check out this Kyle guy. Is what he said.
Oh, cool.
So realtors are recommending you, and that's a great, accomplishment, and to be able to have people who aren't even doing business with you to say, hey, check this guy out. So just so you know, but he also wants to know, do you recommend editing the videos yourself, hiring someone to do it? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so
We've been through this discussion before.
I like to do things the hard way, it turns out. So yeah, it is one of those things where, asking for help or recognizing someone else could also do it well, I think that I do it good, but recognizing someone else could do it as good as me. And in reality, it's better than the way I could do it is a tough pill to swallow. So yeah, I did all of the editing myself for probably 2.5 years, like the majority of the time. And then I realized I'm doing this in a very dumb way, because I was also like, I like video's fun for me. So I was also spending a lot of time with like equipment and everything. And it was just a waste of time, frankly, that didn't actually create results. And I think people get stuck there a lot where it's like, they spend so much time focusing on equipment and like lighting and the whole deal. And of course, that's nice to build up at a point, but is having a 4K camera over 1080 actually going to change your bank account? Probably not. So that's what I kind of realized very quickly. So I was like, okay, I need to change my editing workflow. And now what I first started doing was recording everything in live streaming software. And I think like you all, like, I mean, we're in Zoom right now and streaming to Facebook. So it's like, no one's editing this. And the quality of the content is still very high. And so I think, first of all, like, I would start, instead of going through editing software, like recording your camera and a microphone and putting it into software and syncing it and trimming it, don't do that. Just record it in something like Ecamm or OBS. That way everything syncs together. You can switch screens if you want to. There's tons of tutorials online about how to do that. That saved me tons of time. Then I realized I probably need to make more videos, hire somebody to edit. So I already needed somebody at that point in my business to just help me with a lot of other tasks. So I hired a virtual assistant and just taught her exactly what I do with editing. And it's not hard. And right now I use a software called Descript. And basically you get to edit video like a Word document. So instead of, the hell of looking through a timeline and figuring out where you said something and scrolling, I can look at the transcripts. And if I said something I want to cut out, I highlight it and press delete, and it edits the video for me. And so I taught Kat, my virtual assistant, how to do that. And now I record a video, upload it to Descript. She takes it, posts it to YouTube, and it's done. And I think that's also kind of it depends on the nature of the video that you want to make. A lot of people make videos very similar to like the way I do, which is kind of talking head. You have a couple points that you're going through. There's not like scenes, there's not transitions, there's not a lot of cuts.
B-roll and things like that.
Yeah, and I think some people maybe prefer that. And like absolutely, if you want to spend the time and invest into like a style like that, that's something you can do. Obviously do that like when you get more comfortable with video. But for most people, they hear like they think they need this like crazy editing somehow. And you don't. Like most of your videos are probably going to be one take. You're gonna cut out the beginning, cut out the end. You might have a couple places where you mess up in the middle and you just trim them out and you're done. And it's not as intensive, I think, as people make it out to be.
Yep, I love it. So a couple more questions, and then we're at the top of the hour. So so we will leave with the leave you hanging where and wanting more, which is really what doing the video is all about, right? So another quick question from Danny. Are you doing YouTube Shorts, and what's your opinion on it?
Gosh, I feel the way I feel with YouTube Shorts is probably how most people feel with YouTube in general who haven't started making video. So I really, and Scott and I have talked about this too. Maybe it's because we're really stubborn. My brain doesn't work in shorts. Like it doesn't work in communicating in shorts. And I always feel it almost feels like disingenuous in some way where I'm like, hey, here's this FHA loan and it does this and this. And then it's like, okay, time's running out and the video's over. And I'm like, that wasn't enough. I didn't cover the full thing.
Educate anybody in that 12 seconds.
I know. I'm like, was that even helpful? So I have been experimenting with doing a couple short form videos. They'll do okay in performance. The only reason I'm kind of taking a second look at it is because I know that YouTube as a platform is really pushing into shorts.
Big time.
And when I talked with my YouTube partner, he was mentioning like stick with the long form videos, but then also experiment with shorts. Those 10-minute-ish videos are probably going to start losing a lot of traction as there's a limited amount of eyeballs on YouTube, and YouTube as a platform is tuning their app and website to push people into shorts. So that's where I'm like, I know that probably in a year I will do a disservice by not pushing into shorts as much as I don't want to. So I'm trying to figure out how do I. It's the same thing.
Can you clip out? Have you thought about just clipping out? We do that on podcasts where we'll clip out just sections. So
yes,
maybe something to think about.
Yeah, you absolutely can do the clips. I know too, when I talked with him, one of the things that he said the algorithm is more fine-tuned for is like making sure that short is actual contextual for the platform. So a clip, like people can recognize if it's a clip from something, and if that clip doesn't fully contain everything it needs to, then it's not going to do well. Like it's not going to perform well. And so that's where I've kind of been more on the line of like, I think I need to make dedicated shorts because if the clip isn't satisfying the user, like if they just get a clip and it's like, this was like half the information and there's another half here, the viewer is not going to say like, let me go watch the full thing. They're going to swipe away and then I'm going to get ranked lower with that short. And that's at least from what he told me. I don't know that from personal experience, but I imagine I'm going to have to take my own advice of like, I'm going to have to make 50 shorts before I figure out what works. Right. And that's a real big bummer to hear for myself.
I'll send you my shorts prompt. It looks really good. Like it does a good job of pulling 60-second clips out. You ask it for 10 and there'll be 5 that are absolute gold.
So there's the AI thing, which is another question. And so
I'm sorry, guys. I got to go. I'll see you, Kyle.
We're going to let you go.
Bye,
Frank. I know we're gonna. So there's a ton of questions. What I'll do is I'm gonna grab the questions, and Kyle, if you can come back again sometime, we'd love to have you. And we appreciate you're sharing so much information. You're always you're such a great educator, and I feel like
thank you.
We as an industry are blessed to have you because you do provide a lot of what our industry has not provided. And you are obviously rewarded with people recognizing that. So thank you for that.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. So I'm going to say, let's go ahead. We're a little bit over. We're going to say leave with your one call to action, Kyle. If like people are going to get started right now in video, what's the one thing they need to do to get started on YouTube?
Oh gosh, just record a video today on your iPhone. If it's a call, if it's something you learned today on Housing Wire, whatever, just record a video, post it, and then forget about it.
I love it. I love it.
Nice.
So if you want to follow Kyle, his YouTube is Win the House You Love. It's Kyle Seagraves. Recommend following him and follow his advice and go record a video. And Kyle, thank you so much. Make sure and tune in next week. So we have Jordan Nutter, who is killing it on video on TikTok. And so she's going to be joining us next week. Another trailblazer, just like Kyle. So we love meeting with you guys. Thanks so much. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.